All right, welcome back to another episode of Are You Not Entertained? And let's just get straight into this week's shenanigans. And up again, Nintendo. Hold up, $80? Nintendo just crossed the line a lot of gamers said they would never cross. Nintendo Switch 2 edition is reportedly launching with $80 games. And that's not just a price hike, that's a new standard. Because if Nintendo can do this, then what happens next? $80 first person games everywhere, smarter launches at premium prices, and are we playing more for next gen without actually getting next gen power? This isn't just a one console. This could change how gaming costs going forward. And let's break down what Nintendo's really doing and who is next on their list. All right, so here's the deal, and here's the scary part. Nintendo doesn't usually test prices, they set them. They've trained their audience to pay full price forever. No discounts, no sales, no price drops. So when Nintendo moves to $80, it's not an experiment, it's a signal. Publishers are watching, platforms holders are watching, and suddenly that $70 we were mad about, that starts looking like the old normal now, people. So the real question isn't why Nintendo did this, it's how long before everyone else follows. And when they do, are gamers finally going to push back? Now, if PlayStation or Xbox did this first, fans would riot. So why is Nintendo getting a pass? But let's be honest. Would you pay $80 for a Nintendo game? Yes or no? If yes, what game does Nintendo make that's worth $80? I'll be waiting for your comments down below. But until then, infamous $80 Nintendo Switch 2 games. Are they worth it?
I'm gonna give a hard hell no. I'm gonna answer two questions. Hell no, they are not worth it. That's one. And you ask, why does Nintendo get a pass with this? Why do Nintendo fans think that, but it's Nintendo. Not only has Nintendo, like you said, trained their audiences on paying full price for things, me and you have discussed at numerous times, the original Switch generation, it's a handheld. Even though people don't want to admit that, it's a hybrid console. No, it's a handheld that Nintendo found a way for you to hook up to the television and play like a home console. But to me, it's a handheld that you can play on the TV. It's not a console. But to trick people to make it feel like it was something special, they made the cases as big as PlayStation and Xbox cases, even though it has such numerous amount of negative space. That's one. And also, Nintendo is the true king of nostalgia, the hustler of nostalgia. Many adults, whether you were millennial or whoever, have memories of playing these Nintendo games as kids, their childhoods, and for whatever reason, people just have a problem with letting go of nostalgia. They have a problem with letting go of, that brought me memories of playing Mario with my dad on that rainy day I couldn't go outside. Okay, that's fine. That's great. But this type of shit, no. And Nintendo truly believe they are doing the consumer a service. I once talked about how Nintendo are pieces of shit for physical DLC. That's literally what amiibos are. They are physical DLC with a nice craft to them, and people hold on to them as if they're some type of investment. And now they're doing $80 games. But to cover their ass, it's not just porting the game over. It's the Switch 2 version. They add just a sprinkle, just a dash of something new to keep people from saying, it's the same thing. No. We added this. And then, of course, the spec upgrade. The main selling point for Breath of the Wild for the Switch 2, it runs at, stable 60, 4K. This is all things that people who, and we're not advocating this, but who pirated the game on PC were running on their own. So now Nintendo is not only upcharging you for a port, but now they're charging you for performance. And I don't see how consumers are just sitting there like, it's lovely. No, it is pure, disgusting anti-consumerism. And then I will double down and say, as you said, if Sony and or Microsoft did this, people will be out rioting. There'll be talks of boycotts, all of this shit. Yeah, and I'll go ahead and keep it fair across the board. I'll go ahead and say yes. PlayStation has released at numerous times The Last of Us 2. This here, but they kept it within a scope. It was $60. They kept it at an original. They brought it back to its original MSRP, not an upcharge. Microsoft, I can't really give an example on this type of fuckery. The best thing I can say is when they ported over Forza Horizon 5 to the PlayStation, they didn't pair all the DLC with it, as everyone assumed. They just said, hey, $60. And if you want the extra stuff, you have an option for it. But they gave you the choice. Nintendo does not give choice. Nintendo says pay to play or go somewhere else. Because unfortunately, while everyone is sharing their games, Nintendo is not. You will never catch Mario on any other platform. But no, $80 games is unacceptable, and it's just really disgusting.
So I've been on this platform many of times and showing how I feel about Nintendo a number of times. And I already know the audience think I'm gonna do all this yelling, I'm gonna do all this cursing and say my famous line, fuck Nintendo. I know that's what you expect. I'm not
Give
gonna
the
do
people what
that.
they want.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because at this point, we know who they are. They've already showed us time and time again. They want to charge your extra $10 for what? For $10 for what? Why do you think you're owed an extra $10? Because you put two symbol on it. Oh, because the inflation and the tariffs and the and chips are really starting to tap your ass, okay? It's really running after you. You've been running. So now you're trying to supplement it with all this other bullshit. Listen, Nintendo has been bent over my knee and I spanked their asses so many times now. You know how, and I'm not advocating that you should beat children, but you whoop a child so much and they're so bad, so consistently that you get tired of whooping them. That's kind of how I feel about Nintendo. It's just like this mofo just gonna be who this mofo is. It ain't no saving this mofo. And that's kind of where I'm at with Nintendo. Like $80 is just an insult to injury, especially in the microeconomic difficulty times that we live in. Yeah, I think this is Nintendo doing everything that they can. They're raising the price on everything, the old consoles, new consoles game, but that increase is going to eventually come to the Switch 2. And I think they're doing everything in their power to not raise the Switch 2 price.
They
But
are.
but in doing that, I mean, they're just cannibalizing everything in this path. Like these games are not $80. I already talked about how Nintendo games already struggle and have a very uphill battle for value's sake. I mean, we aren't like what game are you getting 30 40 plus gameplay hours? What Nintendo game is that? I mean, maybe Mario Kart? Maybe? I don't know. I just don't feel like the value's there. I don't know who Nintendo think they are. Like I said in previous videos, you're not that guy, so you need to go shut up and sit down. But I think this is only going to continue. Like I've said in the past, Nintendo is going to continue to do nasty shit because times are getting hard. These companies are struggling. Nobody wants to be a Ubisoft right now. I mean, I know that's extreme. I'm not saying Nintendo's going out of business, but nobody wants to be put in the position of Ubisoft. But I think this is going to continue the rise of the Nintendo 3DS. That's why that shit is such a gold mine right now. And really all retro games. Like as these modern games get more and more out of control, people are like, all right, I'm out. Like go back to retro gaming. And retro gaming has really taken off in today's age. So listen, baby, Nintendo Switch players who are diehard, if you're willing to spend $80 on Switch 2 games, by all means, baby, do you boo boo. But I just don't see the value, and I think a lot of people don't see the value, and especially like with the Pokemon and shit, where they're still hitting fees and that. Nah, Nintendo is just being real disrespectful right now, and they should be ashamed of themselves, honestly. You know, I guess this is their new normal, $80 Switch 2 games. Yay.
Well, they try to hide it by saying it's on a case by case basis. This
No,
this
it's
is
not.
horseshit.
No, it's
This is
not.
horseshit
It's every
because
case.
it's damn near every case.
Yeah.
And then for context, you were saying that it's a $10 upcharge. No, it's actually a $20 upcharge. The original Super Mario Wonders came out at 60,
I'm
and
talking
now they
about
want 80.
in players' mind because players' minds
Oh,
are
okay,
already
yeah,
set for at
yeah,
70 as a base. So,
okay, yeah.
but even
Yeah,
still,
I don't
like,
know what they're smoking.
it's yeah, like, even still, why do you, Nintendo, think you have the right to charge an extra $10 before these other people like Xbox and Microsoft, like, that put out like 4K 30 frames per second, sometimes 60 frames per second games? Like, why do you think your game, because it sure as hell didn't cost more than their game. So what are we doing?
Oh,
Like, we
oh,
all
we definitely know
seen
it didn't cost more.
we all seen your gaming budget, buddy. It was leaked to the world. We know you're not paying shit to make these games. That's why they look the way they look. Listen, fuck Nintendo once again, because they saying fuck you, the consumer, once again. Listen, I think we're going to continue to get nasty shit for the rest of the year. This is nothing but building up that bad karma that I said that they had in 2025, going into 2026, still continuing. And we're still in January, people, and we ain't gotten this much bullshit from Nintendo. Just saying, we still got 11 months to go. So yeah, everybody, 2026 Nintendo people. Yeah, this is what we looking at, and I think it's only going to get worse. So hold on to your britches, baby. But we're in for a while wide. But let us know if you feel different. Do you feel like $80? Hey, you got it to blow on 3 games that comes out a year? Because a lot of people are asking where are all these Nintendo games at, because they ain't got shit to play on this overpriced ass system. But let us know in the comments down below how you feel, what you think, your take on the $80 standard that they're putting up now, because it's not a case by case, it's becoming a standard. I don't know why they always try a lot of people. This rumor changes everything. Word is GTA 6 could launch digitally only, and not because Rockstar wants it to, but because it wants to stop leaks before they happen. No stolen discs, no early copies hitting the streets, no spoilers blowing up the internet weeks early. And when the most anticipated game of all time takes that step, it sets a dangerous precedent. Control over access beats ownership. So is this smart move to protect GTA 6 integrity, or the moment physical games officially start disappearing? So let's break this down. And here's why this rumor actually makes sense. Rockstar has been burned by leaks every single time of release. Early disc means warehouse thieves, retail leaks, entire plot points online before launch date. Going digital only gives Rockstar one thing they've never fully had: control. Global unlocks, one launch moment, no spoilers ruining day one. The control comes at a cost. No resale, no lending, no true ownership. So the real issue isn't leaks, it's whether preventing spoilers is worth killing physical games altogether. That's the line Rockstar must be testing. So leave your comments down below. Would you accept GTA 6 being digital only if it stops leaks and spoilers? Comment yes or no below. And listen, there's no middle ground. You got to pick yes or no. For all that and for all what I said, do you think this is a good step for Grand Theft Auto?
This is not. I see this as a cheap cost-cutting measure, and to me, it further proves another rumor we heard recently, that the game is not complete. It's not feature complete, that they will be working on this up to the 11th hour, and in digital only means 2-3 days before the release date, they just hit a button and it's uploaded to the servers. Whereas physical, okay, you have to have it goes gold, you have your master copy that gets sent off, printing, distribution, cases, etc., etc. That takes time, and that also takes money. And I'm gonna say this: me and my cousin have been fans of GTA for the longest. I think we've infamously told the story of GTA 4, how we missed high school to go get it. But I'm going to say this, and people can argue with me. GTA is probably the one product that it does not matter if it leaks, if it comes out a month early, comes out a day early, and someone talks about it, whatever. It will not hurt the game. Hell, if a leak, we've had leaks before of the early alpha build gameplay, showing the female character in a store. We've had leaks of the maps. It has done nothing but garner more attention and demand for the game. So I don't understand where they're coming from from with, oh, quote unquote, to avoid leaks. This is the company that believes in all attention and publicity is good publicity. The hot coffee mine scandal, whereas other companies would have saw that and like, oh, it's a bad thing. Rockstar sat back like, keep talking about it. They're spreading the word. That's less marketing on them. But what I do also believe and see this as, with GTA 5, Rockstar put the game out first on consoles, and then they put it out on PC. And there are some people who will have console and a PC, and they bought it for console, and then when it came out for PC, they bought it for PC. They double dipped. This time, it seems like they're trying to triple dip now. There are some people who will not be able to resist the urge to want to buy this, and then when it comes around and it's physical, they will get it again because that's just the type of gamer that there are. But when this rumor came out and I scoured Reddit, comment sections of everything, a lot of people were just like, hey, I'll just wait a little bit longer. What was also tied to this rumor was the physical may not come out until upwards of second or third quarter of 2027. That further proves, like I'm saying, this game is not ready. They are still really working on this in a sense, like real work. This ain't just polishing. They are still putting in real dev time on this. Someone has faced the facts and said, hey, if we delay this again, or this earnings for this quarter will be affected and blah, blah, blah spreadsheets. Someone's like, hey, we'll just launch it digitally because, as I've said, to put up a digital game, just push a button and it's on the server and everyone has access to it as long as the publishers as developers give access to it. To me, this stinks of ill preparedness because this is been delayed twice already. We're on this third release date. This is just bullshit to me. And rather just admitting, hey, the game ain't ready, jump the gun a little bit, but hey, as my cousin talked about, built the hype machine. But I believe they're triple dipping and it's just laziness, in my opinion.
We had a GTA topic not too long ago, and even in that topic, they was like, "Hey, delay talks are back on the table because they do with all their games, even with Red Dead and the last GTA, they work up into the ninth hour trying to finish features,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's not nothing new. But this digital only at launch, and I'm a digital mofo. Let me tell you here right now. So being digital didn't
Mm-hmm.
affect me because it was always gonna be bought on digital, but for them to have this as their launch model, I don't know. I don't know if I like that, even though I won't be affected, but I don't know if I like that because Rockstar do set precedent. I'm not even gonna say Rockstar is the first one. I think other games in the past have went digital with a physical release promised later. So I'm not even gonna say they're the first company to do that. I just listen. I know they said delay is a word that's spreading around and blah 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 blah. I'm quite exhausted with GTA with the back and forth. I gotta be honest. Like at some point, I don't give a fuck. Like it's starting to get a little silly, these leaks and all that. Digital, it's just getting a little too much for me. At this point, I'm about to say fuck GTA. And it's really unfortunate because there is stress at Rockstar to put this game out because why? They've made this system to where they only a two game maker, Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto, and that's their fault. So hey, they up here trying to figure out and finagle ways and how they can put it out, but yet not put it out all the way. Like that's their fault, and they deserve all the stress that they're getting because you're a game maker, and when you only got two games that make you money, well, and then one of those is a big cow. Yeah, you get real stressed about the release date of that big cow. So I really think this was all designed and if orchestrated by Rockstar themselves, and if they struggle, so fuck them. I don't give a fuck. They said delaying this game cost them $30 million a month every time they delay. So, hey, fuck you. Like, I don't care. Like, if you be losing money every time you delay this game, because you should have never put yourself in this situation to begin with. This is your fault. Your fault. You the one that was raking in all the money from GTA Online, saying, "Oh, we'll get to it. We'll get to the next one. We'll get to the next one," and really didn't start working on the next one until like 8 years, 9 years later. Like, that's your fault. I don't give a fuck. And I don't feel sorry for Rockstar or Take Two or whoever the fuck made these decisions. Now, digital only, yeah, I think some people are not going to buy it because they're a physical gaming mofo. And I know my cousin said some people might buy it twice on console and on PC, and that's really possible. But I just know some PC players, which if it ain't on they shit, they not buying it. And they will wait that year in difference because why? They got other shit to play. But I mean, if this is true, then really gonna be like a strange launch for GTA 6. And I'm not gonna say it's gonna hurt anything because GTA is a pretty money making machine, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see because it'll be strange, honestly. It'll just be strange to have a digital only for GTA 6. And I've already said I know other people have done it, but for GTA and Rockstar, who's supposed to be the pinnacle of what a game maker should look like and a game should look like, them doing digital only really would start to turn the curve from physical. And I really think this will hurt physical games going forward. But yeah, I mean that's what I got.
So
And
before we move on, I want to get this out because what you're saying is true. There are some games that have done a digital only and physical. Majority of those companies are small, indie, or nowhere in the scope of Rockstar with a major publisher of Take-Two backing them. Their options are to release digital only. Most of the time they're indie games. And once they have gotten enough revenue back, they say, hey, we're going to go ahead and release it physically because we know some people do like that. And to me, I get that. I understand that. Them? No,
yeah,
not at
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. That's yeah. Rockstar's supposed to be staple in the industry. Grand Theft Auto 6 is very much held in high regard. So it's really no excuse. Like mofo, if the game ain't ready, the game ain't ready. Like once again, you're gonna go gently into that 2027 release date. What the fuck? So let's just be honest, and that's why I keep telling people don't believe none of these release dates. Hold them with a side eye. Do not plan your life around these motherfuckers because they are slippery, slippery slopes of hey, it's another delay. But hey, let us know what you think, how you feel. Would it even matter if this was digital only for you because that's how you plan to buy it in the first place, or did you plan to buy some type of physical deluxe package? Because I know they still do that some way, even though the game itself be digital in that as well. But yeah, let us know what you think, how you feel in the comments down below. PlayStation 6 isn't coming when we thought or when they told us it was, all them analysts. New reports suggest Sony is delaying the PlayStation 6, and that's not a small move. That's a warning sign because delays like this don't happen for no reason, people. Raising hardware costs, longer dev cycles, and games that still aren't fully using the PS5 capability. So if Sony hits pause on the PlayStation 6, what does that really mean? Are we looking at longer console generations or are a next gen launch that's already in trouble? This delay might actually tell us more about the industry than PlayStation 6 itself. So let's break it down. When you look closer, the delay actually tracks, and I've been saying this for like weeks now. But anyway, most studios are still building cross-gen games. PS5 exclusives are very rare, and development costs are exploding. Launching PS6 too early would split the audience, slow game sales, and rush tech that isn't ready and isn't there, honestly. So Sony waiting isn't reckless, it's strategy. But here's the catch. A longer PS5 generation means fewer true next-gen leaps, more remasters, more upgrades, more director cuts. So the real question isn't when PS6 launches, it's whether gamers are okay paying more while waiting longer for the future. So let's be honest, is Sony right to delay the PlayStation 6 or are they milking the PS5? Comment down below yes or no, and we'll see you there. But after listening to all of that, what is your take, Infamous? Is delaying the PS6 the right choice, or are they milking the PS5 for as long as possible?
I'm going to say delaying the PS6 is a strategic and very, very smart move. We have reported and gave our opinions for weeks about the staggering increasing cost of gaming, whether it be hardware, accessories, the games themselves. Everything across the board is getting expensive. And even though we reported on the rumors rumors that somehow Sony's going to pull some hat out of their ass and make the 6 affordable, but yet the 5 is rising up. That math don't math. So that's absurd. But we had spoke about this subject matter maybe a week or so ago off the show. Gaming in some aspects have plateaued. We don't see the big differences and leaps and bounds in the generations as we did before. And now with the quote unquote hard economic times, the PS5 generation is just now really starting to roll on in a sense. The steam is pushing, it's chugging, but it ain't really taking off. As you say, we're just now starting to get games that are PS5 Series X only. And then even then, they're not quite really fully optimized as they should. Hell, PlayStation has now started this little campaign with trying to push PS4 users off of that to get to the 5. If you succeed in that and then 2 years later, hey, new system, they're gonna look like, oh hell no. It's just not in the cards. The old standard of 5-7 years or whatever for generation, that's just not cutting anymore. There is no need for new hardware because I promise you, as long as this show continues and we get to PS6, the graphical fidelity from 5 to 6, it'll be almost minuscule. Optimization is the key, and my whole thing is you need to start that now rather than expect me to buy a whole new couple $100, not even couple, hundreds of dollars of a new box to show, oh, we improved this. No, that's absurd. Delaying the PS6 generation and continuing the PS5, it may not seem like it, but it's a goodwill gesture to consumers. You're telling them, hey, we know you hurt. We're doing the best we can. And I know my cousin is very pro, hey, these corporations don't give a fuck about nobody. And they don't. This is probably just optics, just to make it look like a safe face. There's no need for a new PlayStation. And yet, even though I'm a highly enthusiastic to see the new PlayStation handheld, another Vita in a sense. But for what? For what? There's nothing anyone can think of powerhouse graphically a newer system can do that the current one can't. Besides, do a better job at hiding loading screen. The elevators and the slow pushing through cracks. We all know what that is, but I don't see a reason for a new generation. PS5 can go into 2030 or more. Like, what do we need new hardware for? To be still nickel and dime, because I promise you this, if they truly do push for PS6, it's only to probably give a bigger reason to say, well, Nintendo charges you $80, so this is a new generation. Here's $80 for our games. That's the only reason I can see. We're fine where we are with the PS5. I don't need nothing.
Yeah, that was real cute of you to make it seem like they give a fuck about people. No, they don't. They don't give a fuck about you. All they're thinking about is themselves. They see these chips getting out of hand. They're trying to wait that storm out, people. That's what's really going on. Listen, they seeing the GPU, CPU, goddamn SSD, everything is going up. If they put out a system in this climate in the next 18 months, what some stupid ass analyst said, bro, that shit gonna be $1,200-$1,300, bruh. Ain't no way around it. So what they trying to do, trying to wait it out and see. And plus, and let's not act like this ain't the lost generation from trying to bounce back from the stupid ass live service games that everybody was trying to get. And PlayStation had like 5 in development and they had to scrap it because why? Live service games was shitty. No one was fucking with them. And then they had to self course correct because the customer, the consumer said, we done with that. We let you get that off for like 3 years. If you didn't get on the bandwagon, you're fucked. So what do we have? A lot of gaps in releases, a little less not little, a lot less PlayStation exclusive games than last generation to this generation. This is the lost generation. And now that the PS5 is finally feeling like it's, bouncing back, really getting this little groove on, it's really picking up the pace in this long distance run we call generation. Now you talking about a new generation? That's why I was fucking pissed with the rumor saying a next gen. No, next gen need to calm the fuck down. They are just now sunsetting PS4. Now put that in perspective. They just now sunsetting PS4. So that means PS5 is about to be your only options for a lot of games. And then you was gonna try to cannibalize that with a PS6? Nah, bruh. The consumer was not gonna allow that. That shit would have been dead on arrival, in my opinion, because no one was gonna come off what they already had, because either you already bought the PlayStation before the price hikes or you bought the PlayStations with the price hikes. And even if you're in either of the category, you wasn't gonna then buy a PS6 that's $900 to $1,000 before tax. No, you wasn't. And you can come in these comment sections projections, lie to me all you want, but baby, never lie to yourself. No one was gonna buy that shit. And they knew that. And they could see that. And that's why when all them, ooh, it could come out and is, a 7-year window and ooh, and they was just like, yeah, let's just go ahead and nip this in the bud. We ain't coming. All right. Business decision. PlayStation cannot afford to take that type of loss. We all know they ain't got no big dick daddy money in the background like Microsoft does. Microsoft can still put their shit out and no one care because they already said they shit is niche. They shit is for the top tier performing motherfuckers that like shit like that. They already said that shit gonna be over. They already set their precedent. So for Sony has to come in and be, mid-class friendly, I don't think they can put the PlayStation 6 out in this climate with these chips and all that other shit. Maybe they can strike a deal by then to lower the cost or just give devs time to really optimize the shit. Listen, I never believed the news. I never believed the news that the PlayStation 6 was going to come out in 12 to 18 months. That was fucking bullshit. But I am happy to hear that somebody in the company got a brain cell left and said, nah, this just ain't the time. We got some shit to figure out, like how to fuck make these first party games actually sell. That wasn't sarcasm. That was truth. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. And I've already stated in a past video that I would not be buying a PS6 ever. I think that's once this generation is really over, I'm going to PC. I am going to finally do it, people. I'm not going to leave the consoles because I got to keep the consoles to play console game. But yeah, I'm just not interested in the PS6. Nothing about it is very intriguing because like my cousin said, there is not going to be that much jumping graphics. There is no, the loading times for the PS5 should have been optimized, and I still see games that's not optimized. So I'm really not interested, and it's probably why I sound so disengaged with the topic. But fuck Sony. Still, at the end of the day, they doing people no favors. When the shit does come out, it's gonna be a fucking expensive ass box. But let us know in the comments down below how you feel, what you think. Would you get the PS6 if it did come out in 12 months? Or do you really need this to be delayed so you can feel like you got your money's worth at the PS5? Let us know down in the comments down below. Fuck Sony, fuck Xbox, fuck all of them. Anyway, this might be bigger than it sounds. Netflix now has podcasts, and that one move could quietly change the entire media game because Netflix doesn't just add features, it redefines behavior. If podcasts live where people already binge shows, what happens to Spotify? What happens to Apple Podcasts? What happens to YouTube, people? This isn't about audio anymore. It's about attention, discovery, and control. And if it starts bundling podcasts with original and exclusives and ads, this could completely reshape how creators get paid and who survives. This might be the beginning of a new podcast era. Let's talk about why this matters now. All right, so once you zoom out, this makes a lot of sense. Netflix isn't getting into podcasts because it loves audio. It's doing it because podcasts drive loyalty. They keep people engaged between seasons. They turn shows into brand, not just episodes. Imagine watching a Netflix series and when the credits roll, the official after show podcast auto cues, cast interviews, behind the scene breakdowns, no jumping to Spotify, no hunting on YouTube. That changes discovery overnight. Independent podcasts now have to compete with a Netflix promoted show inside the biggest streaming app on earth. And then there's ads. If Netflix bundles podcasts into its ad tier, it controls the audience, the data, the pricing. That shift leverage away from creators and towards platforms again. This isn't just Netflix adding podcasts. It's Netflix testing whether podcasts becomes part of streaming or if it stays the open, creator-driven space it's always been. Because if this works, every major streamer is next. So the real question, and comment down in the comment section, do you want podcasts inside your Netflix, or should podcasts stay separate? Comment yes or no in the comment section down below. Now, as someone that is currently recording a podcast as we report this news, Infamous, let me know, what do you think about Netflix getting into the podcast space?
Well, I'm not surprised. Anyone who pays attention to any type of social media, entertainment news, Netflix has really been making moves from the Warner Brother deal that they're more than definitely going to close and get. The recent news of the deal that they have with Sony and Sony Pictures, hearing this, I'm just not surprised. They're like the Amazon of media. Amazon is killing everybody with store closures and everything, really putting pressure on it. And now Netflix, after all these years, after all the competitors trying to come at their lunch money, Netflix has just really came back and said, come on back to me. Well, I'll take care of you. It's too much work for you to do this, but us, we got this. I'm not really surprised. I say this as far as, at least in North America, podcasts are huge. They are big. I believe Netflix is still the number one streaming service with all the streaming services that they have available to us. And we've talked before about how certain shows Netflix is putting out are getting good and really holding people to stay on their platform. This is just going to add more to it. You have Monday Night Raw now have this exclusive deal with Netflix and them showing it, and they show it live, which I didn't think, that was a thing Netflix would ever do. The sporting events, all the major deals, there are shows from brands and streams that are flooding Netflix as we speak that were either dead on other platforms, licensing, whatever the case. And they're like, hey, put on Netflix, let's get this check. Netflix has said, hey, we plan to be and or are your central streaming platform, not just of shows, events, and now podcasts. And I'm not gonna lie, I can't speak on the full total ramifications of this because I don't think no one does this. You have, your YouTube, your podcast, and as you stated, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. But for this, I can only see it giving people more options. But then in a sense, it probably will have some type of negative impact. I just don't see the ramifications. But I see myself using this, whether cleaning up or doing whatever. The show's playing in the background, as many people, what do? They have the TV on just to have noise going on. A podcast as well. A show we recently talked about, Welcome to Dairy. If I remember correctly, it has an official podcast of and for
Yeah.
that. I just never did or anything with it because I just don't watch or engage with HBO Go like that. Everyone has Netflix. A piece of me is like, okay, I literally want to see where this goes, how this is incorporated and played out. Even as far as with us, will this be another platform to spread content creators or etc. Another avenue to engage and put out there to reach more audience, or will it be a hindrance? Will it flop? However Netflix chooses to do it, because hey, Netflix has talked for the longest. It has been years, if people have not followed, on some way to integrate ads onto the service. This is it right here. Plain and simple. Because they have always gotten backlash and fighting. I do know from time to time, people have argued with the piecemealing of seasons being uploaded. Majority of the time, I think Netflix uploads the whole thing on their shows, or depending on the show, they'll break it up. You have Hulu, who does it week by weekly to make sure, hey, you ain't gonna just come in for a month, binge it out, and leave. I'm kind of for this. I would like to see how this goes, to see how this plays out in a sense, even for us, but I'm sure you probably don't have the same aspects or optimism as I do. I know you talk, you don't mean to be pessimistic, but hey, your view is always a little bit more jaded than me. So I'm more curious, how are you really taking this? Because
Oh,
this is just,
well, I
I would not
mean,
have expected this.
but like I said in the intro, it makes sense because if you can do what Spotify do on your streaming service, then what the fuck do you need Spotify around for? Honestly, is what I think Netflix board members said. Like, Like, bro, we have the capacity to do what Spotify does. Yeah, fuck that. Let's do it. And we trying to get this Warner Brothers deal. Like, I just think it's smart business over the front because podcasting has become the number one way for a lot of people to digest news and entertainment. That's why I liked yeah, this is not a sports show, but like the sports media, like First Take and First Thing First, they're struggling over people that have podcasts that just, talk shit because the listener feels more, what's the word? They feel more represented in when the podcaster talks than what this analyst does on First Take First, that it's not genuinely how they feel. Like now listeners and viewers of media, old media, feel the disconnect. Like, oh, this is for play, this is clown shit. Like, this ain't how you really feel. And then, now you got the information on your phone every night you watch a game. You can like, oh, he had 15 points because of such and such, and you get on TV and saying he just has no heart. He wasn't, people now have information to now they can discredit what you're saying more now than they've ever done. And instead they listen to a podcast like, hey, homie just didn't have a good game. He had this, and this, and blah, 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 blah. And they like that. They like podcast formats a lot because it feels like you're having a conversation with a friend instead of watching a stranger put on an act on TV. So podcasts have popularity has blown out of proportion. And so I think it's a good move for Netflix to try to capitalize that. Now, they only have select podcasts from what I've read, and they started to roll out at the end of this year. And so, they got stuff like The Breakfast Club and Maul and Rory, and it's some other shows on there. But I say all to say I think it's a great business move. Now, as far as our podcast, I don't think our podcast is nowhere big enough for an attention. Just looking at the ones they selected, it's big enough for that. But it is interesting because it does open up another pathway for a podcast to try to get monetized. Because YouTube, we're still struggling trying to get monetized as soon as possible because we all know everything is a hobby unless you're getting paid to do it. And I'm not saying YouTube is, I don't know why, but that's the most success we see as far as listeners because we do got Spotify, we do got Apple Podcasts, but that feels so hard to grow. It's like you either get your YouTube channel and you give them an option saying, hey, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, watch us, listen to us on there too, and they cross over. I don't know. Maybe that's just a challenge our podcasts are having, but we're seeing the most growth on YouTube. We're trying to get monetized as fast as possible. As I see it, as the channel continues to grow, Netflix could be a viable option because when they open up for all podcasters. So I'm all for it. I would be very much interested in how their pay is compared to other people because, the game is so saturated with podcasts now. It's really hard for these platforms to justify, oh, we'll pay you this, especially if they get in a bidding like war, like they're trying to steal podcasts from a certain platform. Like, hey, we need 3 days exclusives here on Netflix, and then you can put it on YouTube type. But in order to do that, they gotta pay you though. So it's interesting. I think this is a great mix up. I think it makes sense for Netflix, and I think this directly interferes with Spotify's business plan and Apple. I think those are the people or the companies that are really looking at these Netflix shit like, what the fuck, bro? Like, why are you messing with us? But I think it's interesting. I think this is something we'll definitely look at and follow and see because I don't think it's gonna fail. Honestly, I really don't. I think this is going to be just another evolution in Netflix. And one thing about Netflix, they shed some skin. Once it's time to get out and bust out and try something else, boy, they'll bust out that shit and shed that old skin, just like they do in this Warner Brothers deal. So yeah, we'll have to stay tuned. But let us know, what do you think about? Would you go to Netflix to listen to our podcast? Or any podcast, really. Like, I guess you'll have to get over that mental hurdle because you've never done it before, and then you listen to it on your phone while having the app closed. That's another thing too. Like, I don't know. They got some little kinks here to work out, I would think. But yeah, they just started this. This is just rolled out. This is starting I think started this week, so they got a lot of time to work out the logistics and stuff like that. But let us know. Would you listen to Netflix podcast on Netflix? Let us know in the comments down below. All right, people. Elder Scrolls. Yes, yes, yes. All right, Kurt Clement said an interview that raised a lot of eyebrows fast. A former Bethesda developer, Kurt Clement, sat down with Samuel, and what he said has people reading between the lines because this wasn't just nostalgia or old story. It was frustration. It was honesty, and it sounded like someone who's watched the industry slow itself down. Comments about development timelines, expectations, and creative limits are now fueling new questions, especially over Elder Scrolls 6 still missing in action. So the real story isn't the interview itself, it's why these comments are landing right now and why fans are connecting the dots. So let's break it down, what actually matters, and hear what he said. All right, this is why the interview stuck with people. When Kurt talks about game development, he's not speculating. He's describing how Bethesda used to work. Smaller team, clear creative direction, faster iteration, fewer layers of approval. Now compare that to today, massive studio, corporate oversight, game plan years in advance to hit financial targets, not creative milestones. So when Kurt hints at how development has slowed and creativity gets boxed in, fans immediately think of one game, Elder Scrolls 6, baby. Because this isn't just about how long it's taking, it's about why it's taking so long. The industry's changed, expectations have exploded, budgets have ballooned. The studio, in a studio like Bethesda Game Studios, God, that was a tongue twister, are now building games to have to justify massive investments, subscriptions, and platform strategies. And that's why the timing of this interview matters. It lands in a moment where fans are already fucking frustrated, already waiting, already wondering if the magic that made classic Bethesda games special can survive modern development. The takeaway isn't Bethesda is doomed. It's that the way games are made today may be the real reason everything feels slower, safer, and more cautious. And if that's true, Elder Scrolls 6 isn't just delayed. It is being built under a completely different psychology than the games that made fans fall in love in the first place. So, hit the comments down below. Did Bethesda lose what made it special? Or are fans just impatient? And I'm going to go ahead and already answer that for my cousin. Bethesda been lost what made it special long fucking time ago. But Infamous, after hearing this and reading the article, what do you have to say about some of the things that Kurt talked about?
You ain't lying, and he ain't lying.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
And
whoa, whoa, whoa. I love when people say I'm right.
And it's really sad because I'm just gonna come out and say it. You ain't really seen shit from Bethesda since Skyrim. Skyrim bloated their heads to immense proportions that they just feel like, you know, we're the kings of these type of games. You know, people love us, and you know we can do no wrong. But it's like they should have got a wake up call in 2015. That is when Fallout 4 came out and when The Witcher 3 came out, and it was the first time a Todd Howard game did not win Game of the Year. That right there should have been the wake up call. That right there they should have went back to the drum board and been like, but instead they just like, they don't know what the fuck they talking about. They don't know what they want, and they just doubled down on their own bullshit. They just continuously ported Skyrim everywhere. But this is also the consumer's fault as well, because fucking the consumers kept buying it and still fucking buy it. But they really did not need a live service game. Fallout 76, even though I play it now and am enjoying it after years of having the course correct, they did not need it. Elder Scrolls 6 will be another, it won't live up to its potential. It's another game that has taken well too fucking long to come out. You know, there are people who, there are kids who weren't born or just was born when Skyrim came out, and now they're almost teenagers in a sense. And to me, I believe they've lost the scope of their original dream. You've heard interviews of Bethesda talking about how when they were making Elder Scrolls 3, they were going all in because they're about to be closed. They were like on the verge of bankruptcy. It was a small team of them. They just really poured true passion into it, and it bounced them back. Somewhere along that line, they're just like, oh, money, 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 money. Todd Howard is super inflated, thinking like, I make the greatest games ever. Okay, you used to make great games. You make shit now. And they also used to talk about how the reason why they went and wanted to create Starfield, well, we don't want to be a 2-game studio, Elder Scrolls and Fallout. At some point, I can understand that, but it's like, hey, stick to what you know and what you're good at. Their fall from grace is hard hitting, and for whatever reason, they're just not getting it. He talked about culture changing, work habits, how damn near nothing can get approved unless he goes through Todd first, and that fucker ain't available because he's distracted with the show and interviews and spreading lies. I mean,
Wait,
you can
wait,
go back.
wait.
You could go back to when he was doing the hype train for Fallout 76. And this some bitch was like, 16 times the detail.
Oh
And all this
God.
shit for Fallout 76. And when that fucking game came out, you never heard such an outcry of people like, what the fuck is this?
Right.
They
He
lied
has
on the
become
collector's edition.
a meme generator.
Yes, they lied about the collector's edition. You're supposed to get a canvas bag. They gave motherfuckers nylon. People complained. It was like, yeah, we didn't want to do that. That was going to cost too much. They literally told consumers that. It was not up until being faced with a lawsuit that they're like, okay, we'll make the bags. And I think it took nearly a year to do it and to send it out to people. They have gone so far off the reservation, and you'll think at first it's just chasing trends or chasing the money, but I really believe Todd Howard's ego is just like, hey, motherfucker, I made Skyrim. It's like, okay, but what else? And then they announced, I'm gonna say this again. They announced Elder Scrolls 6 in 2018.
Knowing they wasn't working on it.
Knowing not only were they at the time, they weren't even working on it. And they knew they weren't fucking working on it. And now they're talking about, fans just need to wait, and patience is so long. No, look, are you lying? People are wanting what was promised to them. Even I had said it when that trailer came. I'm like, this is the most vague ass shit. Because I remember the trailer Skyrim. It was a mural that was moving, and you kind of knew what they were setting up, kind of even details. That trailer shit was just a fucking random landmass. You know what the fuck it was? People were like, Hammerfell. It's like, how do you know that? We don't know what Hammerfell looks like. Except from the description of the books. And from the last time I remember, Hammerfell is desert-like. That shit looks jungle and wilderness and mountainous. So what the fuck are you talking about? And you have fans and people making excuses, but to not going along on tangent, as Infamous does. Bethesda is not the same, as our many beloved studios no longer are. Like BioWare. We gotta let it go. BioWare is not BioWare anymore. The people who made the games we love, they are long since gone. And after the recent things and shakeups, ain't no one there anymore from who we know. I believe, and you all can quote me, you can archive this, Bethesda, Elder Scrolls 6 needs to be their Cinderella story, their comeback. But I really feel it's too late. It really is. They are damaging their reputation beyond repair. They fucked up Skyrim with the Creation Club and broke everything with just like, hey, we just want to sell you mods. They've recently done that again with fucking Fallout 4. Hey, we just want to sell you mods, which at one point they used to be against until I guess someone told them, hey, yo, we can make money off this. Let them make it. We sell it. They're no longer about creativity. Hell, they constantly keep trying to push this procedural generational shit in their games. And I'm telling you, that Creation Club 2 shit that they did with Starfield, it is being utilized and made. Elder Scrolls 6. They will use that procedural shit to try to springboard, to try to cut down development cost on it in some way to try to get it out the door to appease fans, and it's going to appease no one. And then I'm going to add this real quick before I cut this off. Back to Todd Howard being a liar. This is a motherfucker who said in an interview that you can go find public. It ain't how you launch a game, it's how you finish it. He firmly believes in launching a game in any state and just, fix it. As long as you fix it, they'll keep buying it and they'll wait for it to be fixed. That's his mentality. That's the motherfucker that people have so much hope in, as they quote unquote call him God Howard. Boy, that interview, that Clem, if that's his name, sir, if you're hearing this, hey, we apologize in advance, but he ain't lying. The culture of everything of Bethesda, it ain't there. It's not. And it's no telling how long it ain't been there. Hell, I could throw out dozens more controversies and shit going on with them. But Elder Scrolls 6, I don't care about it anymore. Companies have made strides in the RPG genre. We had people, and I hate to say this, because you know how I feel about this fucking game, but just like how everything is so inspired by Breath of the Wild, every time an open world game of any caliber came out, fully inspired by Skyrim, people, you need to stop doing that. Your favorite game is not necessarily trendsetter. There really aren't any of those anymore. Everyone copies or does something that's been done, and they do it their own way, but best believe, Skyrim wasn't the first open world fucking game, nor was Breath of the Wild. But Real Dev Diary, fuck Todd, fuck Bethesda, and Elder Scrolls, you all should just reinvent the wheel, make a new franchise, and start from scratch. It ain't gonna be shit.
Well, they
And
did
that's
that with
coming from someone.
Starfield.
Oh damn. God damn. Oh man, you ain't lying. Well, I don't know what to say, but that guy wasn't lying. What did you take from it?
I mean, like we talked about yesterday offline, he said a lot, but I just want to make the emphasis or re-emphasize some points that really drove it home for me. And he talks about in his interview, and I'll link the interview in the description below so you can read it yourself. He says that a lot of that in the beginning, Bethesda was like a basement size office with Todd and a bunch of other developers really locked in and being cohesive of what they was creating, and it ballooned into this 4 studios in 4 different areas, like working on something remotely, and Todd not being associated with the development. And if he is, he comes, makes these certain decisions that later has to be redone because it makes no sense to the storyline, and everything is disjointed. There is no cohesiveness in their game development, and that shows in their games now after Skyrim's success. And it's really unfortunate because he basically says success killed the company and killed its creative process, because people, just because you're good at developing a certain aspect of a game does not then mean you can be a leader or a supervisor for 12 other developers. That's just not how it works. And it really frustrates me because I was in the military, and the military has this mindset, oh, you follow these certain rules, we can make a leader out of nobody. No, you cannot. You either a leader or you're not. And that's why real leaders don't want to be leaders, because they know it's a bullshit ass job. It's a double-edged sword, and you really, the leader is the mofo that loses at the end of the day. So I just think they assume just because you made some good shit in Skyrim, you would be a decent enough leader as the studio grows, and that is never the fucking case. It never is like that. No, you need a real leader. And honestly, the whole interview, to me, it was just Kurt making it, emphasizing that Todd is not a leader. He's good at making games and making aspects of games and leading a team of developers to, have them be cohesive. But when it's time to lead a company, Todd is not it. And I really I feel like Microsoft bought a dud, and they didn't realize they had bought a dud in a house that was already on fire. And now Xbox is getting heat from it, and they're just like, we didn't do anything. They literally are doing everything that they've been doing before we bought them. We just didn't know they were this fucked up. So it's really unfortunate for Xbox buying a thud, but I do think Todd did lie to this man. I mean, he says it in an interview about he was going to be promised to be the lead design for Elder Scrolls 6, and this is what he said. Of course, after Fallout 4, we didn't go to Elder Scrolls 6. We made Fallout 76. And then even then, we didn't make Elder Scrolls 6. We made Starfield, which became an extremely long project compared to other ones. So from my viewpoint, I've been waiting 11 years to lead Elder Scrolls 6. Now, baby, that shit already tell you. They got into the live service game for NASCO with 76. And still to this day, a lot of people frown at 76 and think 76 ain't shit, because it should have never been made, because that was a time slot that belonged to Elder Scrolls 6 at one point in time. Bethesda wanted a live service service game. And so, listen, and we already documented how live service game has really killed the industry and things like that. And it's been a poison, has done nothing good and left a path of destruction since live service game was ever uttered for any upper management's mouth. So, like, this is the shit that Bethesda decided to do, then make Elder Scrolls 6 that everybody's been asking for. And then they made Starfield, which is another insult to injury, because honestly, baby, you could have, that time you spent on that, you could have made Elder Scrolls 6. But then, I mean, at this point, do we even have faith in Bethesda to make a good game now? I mean, and Xbox just seems like they're so hands off. I'm convinced that Bethesda and Microsoft has some type of agreement that keeps Todd's job safe for X amount of years, because this man is not a good leader, and he shows it every time he's in front of the camera and he lies. So I'm convinced they have to have some type of thing written in the contract when they bought them that Todd has to work there and his job is safe for X amount of years. Because baby, my first agenda on my to-do list, if I'm Xbox, to fire Todd, because baby, you no longer know what you're doing, and this company has gone into shits. This is nothing but BioWare, Bungie, shits. It was almost CD Project Red for a second. It's like when these companies get success, they have no way to maintain it, because when they built the thing that made them successful, they were small, it was close knit, it was he talks about it in the interview, it was a close family. Now you can't even get Todd on the phone to answer a question about something you're developing, because he's off doing Fallout TV show interviews and shit, and spreading more lies and propaganda, So it's really unfortunate, and I feel for this guy Kirk, because he did get lied to and he got strung along in this madness, and that just proves that the biggest decisions of your life happens when you're not in the room. And so, I mean, I'm glad he finally up and left. He did say he's looking for employment, so maybe he'll get picked up, but his whole interview was basically just talk shit or expose the truth that Todd is not a good leader. He's not a leader of men. And let me not say men, but a leader of people, period. And I'm not trying to be funny, because not everybody's a fucking leader. You cannot then think because somebody did a development job, that he can then lead all these people. Like they have 400 people he has to lead. That is not a normal thing to ask somebody who's making a game in a basement 2 years ago or whatever year ago. Like, so it's
And you
really
know what's funny?
unfortunate. Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? That made me think when I was rereading this. How you go from such a small scale and pumping out games, and then you get more people, but it takes longer to make the game.
Yes, that's the ultimate conundrum.
That really was hitting me. Like, you guys' success allowed you to hire more people, you got more capital, but yeah, your games are taking longer now with more hands to help make said game. I'm confused. So confused. Studios, in a sense, more people across the board, you could get your projects in and out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but when you was bringing on about that, because they did start from small, humble beginnings, and now
Yeah, they got
it's hundreds
400
of them, and
people.
it's like, why can't you all keep anything going?
And it's not just that it's 400 of them. There's 400 of them, and they're spread over 4 different locations. So it's just like, when are we all in the room together? Like, never. And you really don't really know what other people are working on, because they're in a probably different building, different time zone. Like, I can totally see why everything is so disjointed in Bethesda these days, because their setup is disjointed. It's like they have multiple voices telling them this is the path, and Todd is nowhere to be found when a lot of these big decisions are made. So, and then people can say, "Oh, you're too hard on Todd," and no, fuck that. Todd is the leader. He's the face of everything. He goes everywhere telling all these lies. It is Todd. That's why he should be fired, because it's his fault. Listen, he wants all the praise of making the best game in the world that was Skyrim, and the rest of them Oblivion, whatever else good shit that Bethesda made. If he wants all the praise, he needs all the fucking flack too. You can't have one without the other. No, I don't care how conceited you are. You need to be fired. It's your fault. It's your poor leadership. Like, and you making promises to devs is another just shitty thing that this man has done. So no, I think whatever agreement that Xbox and Bethesda has that's protecting Todd's job, whenever that shit is over, first agenda I have on my to-do list if I'm Microsoft is to fire Todd, honestly. And I don't give a fuck about the blowback. Honestly, I don't. Because we have shut down, we have gutted other studios for far less fuck ups than you. And you cannot continue to damage a brand that we spent this much amount of money on. No, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow that. We'll take these IPs from you before we allow that. Yes, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I met Skyrim. Oh, you're the old guy that fired and took away because you kept fucking up. Oh, you're that Todd. Yes. But nah, fuck Todd. As long as he has Bethesda, I think it's going to be ran into the fucking ground. I don't think Elder Scrolls 6 is nowhere to be done. A lot of things are pointing to 2030 for possible release dates. And who even knows if that's true? And who even knows when this game finally comes out? Will it be any good? Honestly. And that's kind of where I'm at. At this point, I don't even think Bethesda can push out a good game. And yeah, but yeah, definitely go read the interview. It was very enlightening. It kind of confirmed a lot of things that a lot of gamers had suspected for a while, and it just really reconfirmed that yeah, bro, they have not been working on Elder Scrolls 6, and they've been doing everything else because they wanted one game, live service-ish game out on the platform while they developing something else in the background. So really they are a two-game studio. And yeah, he touches on that and everything else and a lot of stuff that we already said, but definitely go check it out. But comment down below. I know this was long-winded, but comment down below, how do you feel? Do you feel like Bethesda can get back in a good place? But I'm just saying, if we follow history like Ubisoft and Bungie and BioWare, when these companies go down crashing, they usually end up crashing into the ground. They don't, it's rarely ever do they, pull the stick back and they able to pull the plane back up. I mean, I feel like CG Project Red was kind of going down with Cyberpunk, and then they started to shift the plane back up north, but we still gotta wait and see on The Witcher. But yeah, let us know in the comments down below how you feel, what you think, and we'll see you there. But that concludes this episode of Are You Not Entertained? We cover a lot of juicy topics and a lot of nice things and not so nice things about Bethesda. But let us know how you feel, what you think, and we'll be back same place, same time next week.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, are you not entertained?